All right, Bears fans, it feels good to say this. There's a different energy around the Chicago Bears right now. You can feel it, you can see it, and more importantly, you can hear it from the people inside that locker room. This isn't just talk about schemes or stats. This is about something deeper that's starting to take root: accountability. And it's wild that as Bears fans, something as simple as that feels revolutionary. But it's true. For years, we've watched coaches avoid blame, deflect questions, and talk in circles after losses. Now, under Ben Johnson, we finally have a guy who owns it. A guy who looks in the mirror first and asks himself what he could have done better before pointing fingers anywhere else. When Ben Johnson spoke after that game, you could tell the tone was different. He said straight up that he and Caleb Williams sat down together to watch every single play, the good, the bad, and the ugly. He gave Caleb credit for the clutch throws that kept drives alive, but didn't shy away from talking about the plays they both wish they had back. Johnson even admitted there were calls he'd love to redo, moments where he didn't quite find that offensive rhythm he wanted. That's not something you usually hear from a head coach, especially in this league, where egos run wild and accountability can be rare. But Johnson's setting a new standard, one that starts with himself and flows down to his players. And that's why it feels so different right now. The Bears finally have leadership that's self-aware. When your coach and your quarterback are willing to call themselves out, that sends a message to everyone else on the roster. That's how you build a real culture, not through slogans or hashtags, but through example. Caleb Williams deserves credit too, because instead of shying away from that kind of tough film session, he embraced it. That says a lot about where his mindset is. For a rookie quarterback still learning the speed and complexity of the NFL, that willingness to face his own mistakes head-on is huge. Now, let's not sugarcoat things. The offense still has a lot to clean up. Scoring only 10 points through the first 3 quarters is not where they want to be. The rhythm wasn't there early, the timing between Caleb and his receivers was off, and the drops were just brutal. You can't have that many missed opportunities and expect to win comfortably in this league. Still, when you zoom out a bit, there's progress you can't ignore. This Bears offense, under Ben Johnson's direction, isn't sitting at the bottom like it used to. They're climbing. They're top 10 in several offensive categories, and that's not by accident. Ben Johnson's offense has an identity now. It's balanced, adaptable, and it's learning to lean into the strengths of its young quarterback. The rushing attack has been powerful, second in the entire league, and that's given Caleb the breathing room he needs to grow as a passer. The play action has opened up the field, and the offensive line, which used to be a constant headache, has become one of the best at protecting the quarterback. Third in sacks allowed is something no one would have believed a year ago, but here we are. That's what accountability and structure can do for a team. Still, for all the positives, the red zone efficiency has to improve. Scoring on just over half your opportunities inside the 20 is leaving too many points off the board. That's where growth from both Caleb and Johnson will matter most. Play calling in tight spaces, decision-making under pressure. Those are the fine details that separate good teams from great ones. And they both know it. Johnson mentioned it himself. It's about recognizing where he can make things easier for his young quarterback, and Caleb understanding when to take the simple throws rather than chasing the highlight reel play. And speaking of Caleb, let's talk about his development, because the national conversation around him is finally starting to shift. Early in the season, a lot of analysts were skeptical, questioning whether he was ready for the NFL, saying the game looked too fast for him. Now, executives across the league are starting to see what Bears fans have been seeing: growth. One executive even said Caleb just needed time playing quarterback in a real system. And that's exactly it. For the first time in his career, he's in a structure that's teaching him how to operate like a professional quarterback, reading defenses, understanding protections, taking what's available instead of always hunting for the deep shot. You can see in how he's handling blitzes. Caleb's recognition has improved week by week. He's diagnosing pressure faster, adjusting protections, and getting the ball out on time. He's spending more time under center, which is something he rarely did in college, and yet that's where most of his best production has come from this year. It's growth you can actually see on the field, not just in stats, but in poise, in body language, in the way his teammates respond to him. Of course, The gunslinger in him is never going away completely. That's who he is. He's going to take chances. He's going to make those wow throws. And sometimes he's going to miss the easy ones because of it. But that's okay. Those are the gimmies that Ben Johnson has been talking about. The simple completions that keep drives alive. Those are easier to fix than trying to teach someone how to make magic happen under pressure. The Bears would rather work on refining those fundamentals than try to coach out the creativity that makes Caleb special. And while the critics love to shout after every incomplete pass or missed read, the truth is Caleb is improving. The numbers don't tell the whole story, but the film does. He's seeing the field better, he's trusting his progressions, and he's starting to find that balance between patience and aggression. You can tell Ben Johnson is coaching him with intention, pushing him to grow without overwhelming him. That's how you develop a franchise quarterback. Now, let's touch on something else that's quietly becoming a big part of this offense. Luther Burden. Ben Johnson has been easing him in, but you can see his role growing week by week. His snap count keeps climbing, and the trust between him and Caleb is starting to click. When you look at the numbers, they tell you everything. 16 catches on 18 targets, over 13 yards per reception, and a perfect passer rating when targeted. That's efficiency at its finest. Johnson even said himself that there's a strong argument for getting Burden more touches, and he's right. The kid makes plays every time he gets the ball. With the struggles from other receivers, like the drops we saw last game, it feels like Burden's time is coming. He's shown he can handle the responsibility, and now it's just about giving him the opportunities. He's the future at that position, and this coaching staff knows it. You can sense that they're ready to let him off the leash a bit more as the season goes on. And the thing about Burden is he doesn't waste touches. Every catch has purpose. Every route has energy. It's that kind of production that can quietly turn games around. What's impressive is how this coaching staff is balancing development and competition. They're not handing anyone anything, but when a young player earns more reps, they're not afraid to give them. That's a big shift from what we've seen in the past. Luther Burden isn't just out there to fill space. He's out there to make an impact, and the stats prove he's doing it. The bigger picture here is that everything happening with this Bears team right now, the accountability, the improvement, the gradual culture change, it's all connected. You can't fake this kind of growth. It starts at the top with Johnson setting the tone, and it trickles all the way down to the rookies. It's refreshing to finally see the Bears building something that feels sustainable. Not a flash-in-the-pan run, not a few lucky wins, but real, systematic progress. And while there's still a ton of work to do, especially with the tough stretch of games ahead, this is the kind of foundation that good teams are built on. So yeah, the offense isn't perfect. The defense has its holes. There are still too many penalties, too many missed red zone chances. But for the first time in a long time, the Bears look like a team with direction, a team that knows who they are and where they want to go. And that, more than anything, is why there's finally hope again in Chicago. Because it's not just talk anymore. It's action. It's accountability. It's growth. And it's about time. Now, if we shift our attention to the other side of the ball, the defense has been a roller coaster this season. On paper, it looks rough. 27th in total defense, 28th in points allowed, 26th against the pass, and 24th against the run. But when you actually watch the games, you can see flashes of something much better underneath those numbers. The Bears are still first in takeaways, and that alone shows that this defense is hard. They're aggressive, they swarm to the ball, and they've managed to create momentum in moments when the offense needed a spark. The challenge now is consistency. Too many times, the defense has gone from dominant in one series to disorganized in the next. And that's what Ben Johnson and his staff are drilling down on, keeping that intensity steady from the first whistle to the last. C.J. Gardner-Johnson has been an absolute game changer since joining the team. His energy is contagious, and you can see how the rest of the secondary feeds off it. He brings that mix of swagger and discipline that this defense has been missing for a long time. When he's out there flying around, making hits, talking his talk, the whole defense plays faster. He's the kind of player who makes everyone else better just by being himself. The Bears have needed that edge, that emotional spark, and now they've got it. But what's really interesting is watching some of the younger players step into bigger roles. Luther Burden is one of those stories on offense, but defensively, we're seeing the same kind of growth from guys like Kasen Loveland and Kong Ai. These are players who are starting to figure out what it means to be consistent professionals. It's not just about making a big play once in a while. It's about doing your job, right? Every snap, about being where you're supposed to be, about trusting the system. The Bears defense is learning that, and it's showing in those third down stops in red zone, stands that we weren't seeing earlier in the season. Sixth and third down defense isn't something to overlook. That's how you win games, by getting off the field when it matters most. Still, the pass defense has been a weak spot, and everyone knows it. Opposing quarterbacks have had too many clean pockets and too much time to throw. The pass rush has been inconsistent, and when that happens, it puts too much pressure on the secondary. That's where Ryan Poles and the front office are going to have to focus in the offseason, bringing in one or two real difference makers up front. You can tell this coaching staff knows what kind of players they want now. They're not chasing names or highlight reel athletes. They're looking for tough, smart, disciplined players who fit this system. And once that front four is upgraded, it's going to change everything for this defense. One of the biggest takeaways from this stretch of the season has been how the Bears respond to adversity. In past years, you'd see them fold after a bad turnover or a long touchdown drive. Not anymore. This team fights back. The game against New York was a perfect example. It wasn't pretty. There were drops, there were blown assignments, there were missed tackles, but they dug deep and pulled it out. And that's the kind of win that builds belief. That's the kind of win that tells you the culture is changing from the inside out. The fans can feel it too. Chicago has always had one of the most passionate fan bases in football, and you can hear it in the stadium again. There's noise, there's emotion, there's this sense of something growing. The Bears aren't just playing for stats anymore. They're playing for respect. And with the schedule they've got ahead, Detroit, Minnesota, Green Bay, every game is going to test that growth. These aren't just divisional games, they're statements. You can't talk about accountability and culture if you don't show up in those moments. Those are the games that define who you are. Caleb Williams is going to learn a lot in that stretch. Facing those divisional defenses, playing in cold weather, playing under pressure with playoff hopes on the line. That's how quarterbacks are made. You can already tell that Ben Johnson is preparing him for that mentally. It's not just about X's and O's. It's about mindset. It's about being the calm in the chaos when everything around you feels like it's falling apart. The great quarterbacks don't just throw touchdowns. They steady the ship when things go sideways. Caleb is learning that. And that's why every game, even the ugly ones, matter. They're all teaching moments. Before we continue, don't forget to subscribe to our channel and give this video a like. Your support helps us keep bringing you the latest updates on our Chicago Bears. And don't be shy. Drop your thoughts on the news in the comments below. Rumors are swirling around Hallis Hall, and the whispers are getting louder by the hour. Odell Beckham Jr. could be on his way to the Windy City. What started as a faint murmur in NFL circles has turned into one of the most talked-about possibilities of the season, the idea of the flamboyant, electrifying receiver wearing navy and orange. Sources close to the situation suggest that the Bears' front office has been quietly exploring options to bolster their receiving core, and Beckham's name keeps surfacing in internal discussions. While no official confirmation has emerged, several league insiders hint that there's mutual interest between the player and the team. That phrase alone has been enough to set social media ablaze, with fans already imagining OBJ dancing in the end zone at Soldier Field. For Beckham, a move to Chicago will be both a fresh start and statement. After bouncing around the league in recent years, he's been searching for the right fit, a place that values his explosiveness, his experience, and his flair for the dramatic. The Bears, meanwhile, are desperate to add another dynamic playmaker to support their young quarterback and inject some energy into an offense that's shown flashes but still lacks star power. Of course, this could all be smoke, the kind of off-season buzz that gets fans dreaming and reporters chasing shadows. But the dots seem tantalizingly easy to connect. Beckham has spoken publicly about wanting to play in a big market with passion, and Chicago checks both boxes. The Bears, under new management and with renewed ambition, are signaling that they're no longer content to linger in mediocrity. If this rumor turns out to be true, the NFL landscape could shift overnight. Beckham's arrival would bring instant swagger to the locker room and a jolt of excitement to one of football's most storied franchises. For now, though, the city waits, restless, hopeful, and caught up in the hum of possibility. The thought of Odell Beckham Jr. in a Bears uniform might still be a dream, but it's a dream that suddenly doesn't feel so far away. That's it for this update. If you enjoyed the video and want to stay updated with exclusive news about our Chicago Bears, be sure to subscribe to our channel and hit that like button. We can't wait to hear your thoughts in the comments. See you in the next video.